probably safe to assume that every recording artist dreams of having a #1 hit. This foursome not only achieved that, but their very first one would stay at that position for multiple weeks on end up one of the most successful singles of all time, and be named one of the greatest love songs of the 20th century. Male R&B group All-4-One, comprised of Jamie Jones, Delius Kennedy, Alfred Nevarez, and Tony Borowiak, came together quite organically. They all hail from various areas in Southern California. Tony and Alfred first met in junior high, and hooked up with Jamie after meeting him at a talent show in their late teens. Together, the trio gained some valuable experience singing radio jingles. Jamie then met a music producer at the church he attended, who was actually looking for a male R&B group. He gave Jamie a tape of a song and promised him that if he could put together a group that could sing that song, he would get them on audition for a record deal. The last piece to the puzzle was found in Delius after Jamie and Tony met him at a karaoke show. His talent was undeniable, as even Arsenio Hall could attest to, after he won, along with another contestant in a tie, the former talk show host Flavor of the Future contest, just before joining All-4-One. They landed that audition, got signed on the spot, and the rest, they say, is history. All-4-One's debut single ended up being the very song on that tape Jamie received from the producer, a cover of the 1963 hit by R&B soul group The Times called So Much in Love. The song was released in December 1993 and peaked at the #5 position on the Billboard Hot 100. One assumption that the group quickly shot down in a 1994 interview with the LA Times was that they picked the song as a tribute to the doo-wop era that The Times hailed from. "We've been singing Boyz II Men songs for fun, and we like some other current vocal groups, but old doo-wop is our parents' music. A producer called us and asked us to record the single, which was all arranged. All we had to do was sing it." Another wrong assumption is that their multi-ethnic makeup is part of a marketing strategy designed to appeal to various demographics. This United Nations look wasn't planned. We were just looking to put together the best vocal mix. Alfred is in the group because he has a strong bass voice that complements ours, not because he's a Mexican who can attract Mexican fans. The group does admit that they do see a value in the diversity. Having people of different backgrounds in the group, I think, makes us more interesting and more distinctive. It gives people something to talk about. Their self-titled debut album dropped that following spring. The immediate success the group experienced was amazing, but it was about to pale in comparison to what was coming up next. The second single off the album, another cover of the 1993 song by country artist John Michael Montgomery called I Swear, would end up being All-4-One's biggest hit ever, and put the group on the worldwide music map.
And I swear, by the moon and the stars and the skies.
The song enjoyed an 11-week run at the #1 position on the Hot 100 and captured the top spot in several other countries. It also won them a Grammy for Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal. And to think the song wasn't even supposed to be on their album. In a 2021 interview with The Hype magazine, Delius recalls that all the packaging for the project was already done when the president of their label called them into his office and asked them to critique the country version of the song. Then he told the group that he wanted them to go back into the studio with David Foster to record it. He knew that David was going to do for them what he did for Whitney Houston. Fun fact, Gerald Levert was offered the song ahead of All-4-One, but turned it down because it wasn't an R&B record. The group's follow-up album came fast and furious just 1 year later, titled And the Music Speaks. Sticking to their winning formula of soulful ballads, the track I Can Love You Like That, also recorded by John Michael Montgomery and released just 3 months prior to All-4-One's version, was released as the first single. It gave the group another top 5 hit and a Grammy nomination. The album actually got 2 Grammy noms, the other belonging to the single I'm Your Man. The group added another top 40 hit to their collection with Someday from the soundtrack to the 1996 animated film The Hunchback of Notre Dame. For all intents and purposes, All-4-One should have had another hit the very next year with I Turn to You, another movie soundtrack song from the 1996 live-action animated sports comedy film Space Jam. The group was excited about what the song could do since by the time it was released, the soundtrack had already sold 10 million units, off the success of the several tracks that had already dropped, namely R. Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly, Seal's Fly Like an Eagle, and Monica's For You I Will. We did the video on it and we released it, and then Atlantic Records was like, you know what? We're probably not going to sell more than 10 million. We're going to scrap the record. We were like, no, what are you talking about? We're next. He was like, yeah, we've already had Seal and R. Kelly and Monica, and we're not going to do anything else. All-4-One weren't the only people disappointed in the label's decision. So was the song's writer, Diane Warren. She was so convinced that the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis produced song was a hit that she even offered to put her own money behind the release. The label still wouldn't budge. So she kept her song and found someone else to sing it, Christina Aguilera. It was released 3 years later as the third single off her debut album and shot all the way to number 3 on the Hot 100. More drama with their label, Atlantic Records, was on the horizon for the group, as they wanted All-4-One to be more pop like the Backstreet Boys, and the group pushed back, just wanting to be themselves. All-4-One was originally signed to independent label Blitz Records in a joint venture with Atlantic. The rift between the two led to the group leaving both companies after the release of their third album, On and On, in 1999. 2 years would go by before the group was able to release new music, 2001's All-4-One, on their new label, AMC Records. The track Beautiful As You became a top 20 hit on the adult contemporary chart. The group's next effort, 2004's Split Personality, was released in Japan only, and subsequently gave them the Asian hits, Someone Who Lives in Your Heart, and I Just Wanna Be Your Everything. For much of the 2000s, All-4-One spent their time touring extensively and almost exclusively in Asia and Europe. Also in 2004, Jamie became the first one in the group to release a solo studio album titled Illuminate. All-4-One released their sixth album, No Regrets, in 2009. The album was largely created in-house, with the group doing the writing for the album and the production work done by Jamie's own production company. Around this time, Delius became the co-founder of the esteemed Catalina Film Festival, known as the West Coast's version of the Cannes Film Festival. In 2012, he released his first solo single, called My Rose. All-4-One's seventh and last album to date, 2015's 20 Plus, served as a celebration of the 20th anniversary of the group. The following year, they joined the inaugural I Love the 90s tour with fellow hitmakers from the decade, Salt-N-Pepa, Vanilla Ice, Coolio, Tone Loc, Color Me Bad, Rob Bass, Kid and Play, and Young MC. Also that year, Delius launched his online talk show, Flashback Tonight, which interviews celebrities from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Jamie got back into the solo game again with the release of some music for Christmas 2020 with Christmas at Home with Jamie Jones. At the beginning of 2021, just in time for Valentine's Day, Delius also got back to working on his solo album by dropping the single Friendship After Love. He followed that up towards the end of the year with Numb. He revealed in the interview with The Hype magazine that the songs are part of an EP he was working on during the pandemic, but didn't reveal any details about when it would be released. In a 2020 interview with YouKnowIGotSoul.com, Jamie was asked if it bothered him that the group isn't thought of in the conversation of best R&B groups of the 90s. His answer was one heard too many times to count. I think it's because we were always a little more pop R&B instead of being straight up R&B. It's so funny because when we started our first album, it was an R&B record. I Swear literally got added on the last minute. It was Black radio that started our career with So Much in Love. When I Swear came out, that went super pop. We faced this weird limbo where we weren't black enough for R&B folks, but we weren't white enough for the pop folks. Over the years, all the members have been asked how they've managed to never break up and keep going. Their answers are always the same, because they genuinely love each other and their passion for performing remains strong. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you won't miss any future videos. See you next time!